There's a night at the top of this story that changes everything. A call that comes in at 3 a.m., a decision that only takes 4 seconds to make, and a version of you that never fully comes back afterward. We'll get there. But right now, you're 15 years old, standing on a corner that isn't yours, holding a phone that isn't registered to your name, waiting for a truck that isn't supposed to exist. What most people don't understand about this life is that nobody starts at the top, and almost nobody who starts at the bottom ever sees it coming. The exact moment the whistle in your mouth turns into something you can't put down. This is your story, every rank, every rule, and the one night, still ahead of you, that decides which version of this ending you get. Rank 1. The Halcón, lookout, you're Halcón. A lookout. 15, maybe 16, old enough to hold a phone, too young for anyone to look at you twice. You stand on the same corner every day, and your only job is to notice things. A truck that doesn't belong. A car that circles the block twice. A stranger who asks too many questions at the corner store. Nobody tells you what happens with the information you pass along. That's the first thing you learn. You're a single link in a chain you're not allowed to see the rest of. The money is more than your mother makes in a month at the plant. You tell yourself that's the only reason. You tell yourself a lot of things that first year, but here's the uncomfortable truth nobody says out loud on your first week. The corner isn't really the entry point. It's the test. You learn the rules fast because the rules are the only thing keeping you alive. Never use your real name on the phone. Never write anything down. Never ask who the truck belongs to. The less you know, the longer you last. One night, a car you were supposed to flag slips past you. You were looking at your own phone for 4 seconds too long. Nothing happens to the car, but the man who runs your corner finds out, and for the first time, you understand that a mistake in this life isn't a warning. It's a debt. You pay it off running triple shifts for a month, no complaints, no excuses. You learn to stop looking at your phone. You learn to stop thinking about anything except the corner in front of you. By the end of the year, you're not the youngest one on the corner anymore. There's a 12-year-old 2 blocks down doing exactly what you were doing 12 months ago. You don't say anything to him. Nobody said anything to you either. But this is where the story starts to turn, because the next rank isn't offered. It's chosen for you. Rank 2. The Mule. You move up. Mule now, the ones who carry, not just watch. Your first run is small. A duffel bag, a bus ticket, an address memorized instead of written down anywhere. You're told exactly what to say if you're stopped, exactly what to say if you're not. Both scripts end the same way. You know nothing, you're visiting family. You've never seen the bag before it was placed in your hands. The trips get longer. Different buses, different cities, sometimes a truck with a hidden compartment built so well you wouldn't find it if you didn't know where to look. You start recognizing other mules on the road without ever speaking to them. The same tired eyes, the same rehearsed answers ready in case anyone asks. But that wasn't even the hardest part of this rank. One trip goes wrong 2 states over. Not your trip, someone else's. You hear about it the way you hear about everything in this life. Secondhand, incomplete, delivered like weather. A stop that shouldn't have happened. A mule who didn't make it home. Nobody says his name again after that. You keep making your runs. The money is better than anything your corner ever paid. But now you understand something the corner never taught you. The risk doesn't stay the same size. It grows every single time you think you've gotten good at this. You start sending money home in pieces small enough that nobody asks questions. Your mother thinks you found steady work in construction. You let her believe it, and that lie is going to matter more than you think later in this story. Rank 3. The Sicario Enforcer. You didn't ask to become a Sicario. It's not a job interview. It's a night when the plaza boss needs someone reliable, and your name comes up because you've never once talked, never once hesitated, never once asked more than you needed to know. The first job is supposed to be a message, not a killing. A warning delivered to someone who owes money and hasn't paid. It doesn't stay that way. You don't talk about what happens after that night, not even to yourself, not really. You just learn to carry it the way everyone above you seems to. Here's what no one tells you before this rank. The pay triples, but the fear doesn't just triple with it. It becomes a permanent residence somewhere behind your ribs. You sleep with one eye open in a way you didn't when you were just watching a corner. You start recognizing the specific silence that comes right before something happens. You gain a reputation without ever asking for one. People's eyes drop when you walk into a room now. You tell yourself that's respect. Some nights, alone, you're honest enough to call it what it actually is. Fear. And fear isn't the same thing, even if it looks identical from the outside. You do things in this rank you don't have words for. Not the kind you'd say to your mother. Not the kind you'd say to anyone. You learn to live in the gap between who you were on that corner at 15 and who you have to be now to survive until tomorrow. And this is where the story takes a darker turn than most people expect, because the next rank doesn't just cost you more. It puts other people's lives directly in your hands. If stories like this, the real cost behind power, not just the highlight reel, are the kind of thing you want to keep seeing, subscribe. This channel goes into ranks and lives most channels skip past. What happens at the top of this one is still ahead. Rank 4. The Chief de Plaza, Plaza Boss. You run a plaza now, a territory, a piece of the map that answers to you before it answers to anyone else. Every Halcón on every corner reports up a chain that ends with you. Every mula's route gets approved by you. Every problem that used to be handled by someone above you is now simply yours. You remember being the 15-year-old on the corner. You look at the Halcóns working your plaza now and you see that same kid every single time. Nervous, hungry. Convinced this is the only door that's ever going to open for them. You make decisions now that decide who eats and who doesn't, whose family gets a warning and whose family doesn't get one at all. The weight of that follows you into rooms you used to think were safe. Your own kitchen, your own bed. The quiet 5 minutes before sleep finally takes you. A rival plaza tests your territory. You handle it the way the life has taught you to handle everything. Decisively, permanently, without a version of yourself left over afterward to feel anything about it until much later, alone, when nobody else is watching. The money is more than you ever imagined standing on that first corner. It buys your mother a house in a neighborhood where nobody asks what her son does for work. It doesn't buy you a single uninterrupted night of sleep, and it doesn't undo the lie she's still living inside of. Rank 5, the Segundo, second in command. Segundo now, second only to the man everyone else calls Patrón. You sit in rooms where decisions get made about entire regions, not just corners and routes. Numbers with more zeros than you ever imagined pass through your hands in a single conversation. You've survived long enough to become someone younger versions look up to the exact way you once looked up to the men who ran your plaza. That should feel like an accomplishment. Some nights it does. Most nights, it just feels like a longer view of the same weight you picked up as a sicario and never once got to put down. El Patrón trusts you with things he doesn't trust anyone else with, which means you're the first person blamed when something goes wrong, and the first person threatened when a rival organization wants to send a message upward instead of just sideways. This is the part of the story I mentioned at the very beginning, the call that comes in at 3 a.m. It's a warning. Someone talked. Someone who knows exactly where your mother's new house is. You have 4 seconds to decide what happens next, and every rank you've climbed up to this point built the version of you that makes that decision without flinching. You handle it. The house is safe. Your mother never finds out how close it came. But you don't sleep again that week, and some part of you, the part that was still 15, still whistling on a corner, doesn't come back after that night. Rank 6. El Patrón, legend of the organization. Decades in this life, and you're the one everyone answers to now. New Halcóns on corners you've never personally visited know your name the way you once knew the name of a man you never met, whispered like a rule rather than a person. You've outlasted rivals, outlasted raids, outlasted men who were supposed to be untouchable right up until the day they weren't. Your name alone changes the outcome of conversations you're not even present for. But you remember every single rank it took to get here. The corner, the bus rides, the nights you don't talk about, the plaza, the 3 a.m. call is Segundo that almost cost you everything you'd already sacrificed everything else to protect. Late at night, in a house with more rooms than you'll ever use, you think about the 15-year-old on that first corner, whistling twice at a truck that didn't belong, convinced this was the only door that would ever open for him. You built an empire. You also spent every single year of it looking over your shoulder, and you've always known that the rank doesn't end the way the story does for the people who reach the top of anything built this way. Every rank in this story costs something no amount of money ever paid back in full. The corner cost you your childhood. The runs cost you your peace. The rank of Sicario cost you a version of yourself you can't get back. Every rank after that just cost you more of the same at a higher price. If you made it this far in the story, ask yourself what that 15-year-old on the corner would think of the person you became to survive, and whether he'd have taken the whistle out of his mouth if he'd known the real price of the rank waiting at the end of it. If you want more stories like this, the ranks nobody talks about and what they actually cost, subscribe. New rank climb every week.